I'm excited you're here. I've gotten to know you a little bit the last year, thankfully. You moved here from New York, and I want to start by just talking about that transition. What did you learn about community? What did you learn about yourself in the midst of this season?
Yeah, I moved from New York City, so basically what clicked in my head was three things. Last winter, I don't know if you guys know this, but New York, it's like 30 degrees and dark at 4 p.m., and I was like, this is it. This is the last one of these I'm doing. Because I started to realize how much space actually affected me. And so I think the older I get, the more in tune I get with my feelings and like my wants, and I'm learning to like ask for what I want unapologetically, because it's what I need to feel right or to feel whole, or to just help me create or just feel better, you know. So I started dealing with a lot of mental health stuff, just like anxious, depressed, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get somewhere there's another hour of sunlight and where it's not just cold and dark all the time. And so that was one thing about leaving New York that was big for me. Second was just like ownership, you know. I cared about ownership. The older I get, the more I care about ownership, and wanted to get a property and just start investing in other things.
Yeah,
So
like have a house instead of...
having a house instead of an apartment, having a driveway. Every time people ask me, like, how is it? I was like, dude, there's a laundromat in my house. And people are like, what? That's so normal. I was like, no, it's not. So I just wanted a different change of pace, you know what I'm saying? And so the good thing is I had been back and forth between Atlanta so much. I had built relationships with people and started to fall in love with the city already. So it wasn't super, it wasn't as difficult, but it was hard leaving people and relationships and the state that I lived in my entire life.
And space, you mentioned spaces are a big thing for you. You're working on a new album, starting to create, trying to find spaces to write, to make things, right? In the midst of COVID, trying to find creative spaces is a little more hard. What have you learned like about that, like trying to find environments for you to make what you need to come out of you?
Yeah, for me, one of the things, it's crazy because we're talking about external environments, but also like your internal environment. I don't even know if that's a phrase, but like, you know, we have to walk around with ourselves every single day, but most of the time we don't take, you know, the time and effort needed to actually know ourselves. And, you know, we can't really even be at home with ourselves in a lot of ways. And so that is your head space, your heart space, you know, your environmental space. Those are all things that I've been trying to tweak, because I think the more comfortable I get with those things, the better I am for myself, and then the better I am for my wife and my friends and my art and my creativity. So, yeah, it's just like, you know, I'm lighting candles now. It's just what it is, you know. Candles are going up if I feel like it, you know. Or just learning how to not...
That's what everybody thinks when they look at you. I bet that guy...
Candles, rosemary,
right. You know. No, I mean, you just shared a lot of the album with me that you're working on. Who knows when it's going to come out? You're figuring that stuff out. But I noticed that you went to new places, like you were kind of referring to internally. Talk about that process even more. Talk about where you had to go personally to be able to create, I think, your best art.
Yeah. Well, it kind of piggybacks off a little bit of that being comfortable with yourself and knowing yourself. A lot of that has come through therapy, through being married, like being up close with somebody every day that sees, you know, all of who you are and can nudge you in the right direction. I think our traumas, our experiences in life shape the way that we see ourselves, the way that we see the world. And when you start to tell the truth about those things, you can access more of who you are, you know, and your own story, instead of like suppressing or pushing or running. And I think that gives way, like honesty gives way to, I think, some of the best music. So for me, coming to grips with some of my own story and telling the truth about it, like, it wasn't meant to be like a pungent punchline in a song.
Sure.
But that's what happened when I created from that place. You know what I'm saying? So I think you're probably referring to that record, the new one, like We're the Ones We're Waiting For, that record, yeah. And the opening line of that song was, I've been waiting for the day when my father come around, waiting for the day we'd paint the town. Then it all hit me last night. Nobody's coming. And that was like a moment that I had recently where I was like, though I might long for like a real relationship with a dad, I came to this place like, it's not going to happen, you know? And it wasn't on some like, like don't think like that and negativity. It was like this acceptance, you know what I'm saying? Because of the work that I've been doing, it's like, that's okay though, because that's just what it is. Even though it's hurtful, the only thing I can do about it is respond with my life and be like, well, that's not how I'm going to be. You know what I'm saying? But there was a powerfulness in like owning your own story and not like running away from it or acting like it doesn't exist. So I feel like this just turned into therapy.
I mean,
these are all like straight therapy questions, but
it's good.
That's kind of where I create from.
I can't wait for people to hear the song, honestly, because I think it's what's interesting is there's a little bit of all of us in it. How you wrote it, like you instantly you know your story as you share it, but the resolve of the story is very personal to every person. I think people are gonna really engage with it.
I'm excited about that one too. I don't know what I'm gonna call it yet.
Really?
I don't. Maybe nobody's coming. I don't know.
Oh, that's kind of sad.
It is, right?
That's really sad.
Yeah, it's sad. Is that something? I don't know. We'll see.
I love it. 2020, lots of like down moments for all of us, right? But you're such a hopeful person. You keep going. Like when you enter a room, the energy is really high. It just always happens with you whenever I'm around you. How do you keep that? How do you keep that joy, that energy, in the midst of a season that is really heavy, right?
I'm strange in many ways, but one of them is that when hardship or difficulty or like a change in plan comes, I get a little juiced up. I don't know why. It's like I remember I was on tour and like, you know, we have in-ear monitors, and I remember like one of my monitors, I went to and I started the stage, and I had this whole like cube set up, so I would start on top of this 3D cube and like surprise the fans, and like boom, I come out, I start rapping, and for some reason I don't know what I'm hearing in my ears. Like I can't find the beat. It sounds like one ear is different than the other. It was a nightmare. One of my guys had hard patched my ears, like the left ear one place and the right ear somewhere else. And it was a nightmare. And I'm like performing through it, but I'm yelling in the talkback mic like, my ears are screwed. You know, and for some reason, this level of excitement rose up in me because it was like, oh, we're going somewhere. We had a plan and everything was mapped out, but now we got to figure this thing out. And it almost becomes this little adventure, how to figure things out.
And that's always been the case for you?
I don't know
that?
why that is. It's like some people change brings about fear. It brings about excitement in me because it means like, something different could happen. I don't know what that is. I wish I had better language for it. But all that nonsense of that story just to say, I think there's always opportunity even in chaos. Because we know we're all going to come out of this thing changed, and like there's going to be a different way of life, you know? And that kind of excites me a little bit. Like just thinking about things not always being the same. And I know there's a lot of terrible things that happen, so I don't want this to sound insensitive. We lost family members, like all kinds of stuff. But the fact that things get shaken up and there's an opportunity for something new to arise is what kind of gives me hope in the midst of this thing. Also, just like me and my wife, we've lived our life in a way that kind of prepares for stuff like this. Like, as a rapper, I live way below my means, like far below my means. Like, I don't drive fancy cars. I don't have fancy houses. Like, you know, I don't buy jewelry. Like, I just kind of put my money in real estate and other things and live below my means. And I still have we have a great life that we enjoy. So when this hit, we weren't super affected by it because of the way we had planned our life. And so,
I mean, you buy your shirts at Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah,
I mean, right?
Yeah, that's right. Piggly Wiggly shirts, $3. I mean, and you know what? That's what I say about every outfit. You know, it's not the price tag. It's about the confidence. You can pull it off with some confidence. That's why you can pull off that face microphone you got on right now.
This is right. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. That's good.
If you want, at any point, you could get up and do a dance routine and still sing. Just so you know.
Well, you refer to being different. Like, I think that's part of your swag, I don't know, like the way that you operate. You appreciate being different. You want to be different. You see the world different. If I was to find a way to get into your brain in some way, like that you could help other people that are listening to see, because it's like I see so many replications of something else. But I feel like when you approach art, your business, your whatever you're doing, even the clothes you wear, you're trying to look at it from a new lens, right? How does that work for you? Where does that come from?
Well, I think it's two things. One is curiosity. I think curiosity is like a foundation for my creativity. One. Two is a freedom to fail, right? Like, I think a lot of times we stop doing things because we're afraid of failure or we've experienced failure. So people are like, I'm going to be myself. And then, somebody doesn't like it. And they're like, well, maybe I should stop being myself and be what people like, right? And so that failure or fear of failure can make us change direction and stop being in touch with what actually resonates with us. And so I know that, like, innovation is, I would say, like, I'm sorry, I'm butchering this phrase, but basically, like, necessity is the mother of invention, right? And then I've also seen that, like, failure is the mother of innovation. So if you're, like, willing to fail, like, try things out, you'll eventually find something new or interesting because you're going to search and play in areas that people wouldn't. So the way I think that connects to my creativity is, like, I'm always going, I wonder what a country song would sound like over trap beats, Or I'm curious about these things that shouldn't work. How could I get them to work together to create something interesting to me? And so that curiosity also, in my clothes, I wonder how I'd look in these enormous pants, or like whatever. But if you have those two things, a curiosity and a confidence to fail, then I think you actually start to play, have fun, and discover things.
I think you have a confidence to sell too. So, like, even when, like, if I was to walk in and I'm like, what are you wearing? Whatever. You believe so strongly that your decision is so great. How do you get to that place? Because, like, there's a bunch of people watching right now that are launching startups that are doing this new work. They know they have to do it differently. Whatever they've seen in the past is not working. So they have to be willing to put themselves out there. People are going to laugh at them. People are going to say it will never happen. People are going to say no to whatever idea they have. How does that confidence? How do you get that?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My mom always said I should have been a lawyer, like a car salesman or something. I'm just like, dude, you need this Malibu, okay? Right. No, but I think when you believe in something, it's easy to sell it, right? It's like, if I believe in my art or my outfit or whatever it is, just like, this is dope, and I believe it's dope. It just might take a second for you to catch up, And I think when you can, like, keep that attitude, it's like this. Confidence really does cover a multitude of sins, honestly. Like, if you wear an outfit that is a little outlandish, but you're, like, bold about it, people are like, yo, maybe I'm missing something. You know what I'm saying? If you walk up to, I've had this happen so many times. I walk up to a venue, and I go around to the back where, like, the security guards are or whatever. I'm like, hey, what's up? And then just confidently walk through. They just let you go. Like, you're supposed to be here. It's a weird thing.
That belief.
Yeah, it's like, I'm supposed to be here. Now, I'm not saying try that because you might get tackled. And a lot of times I'll just know somebody there. But I think confidence is attractive. And I think when you have it in yourself or in your product or in your thing, other people sense that.
Yep.
Now, if you don't believe in it, like, then I wonder if you should even be selling it. That's the other thing. So
it's funny sharing that and us sitting in this place, Plywood Place. I remember talking with donors, bringing them into this place before it ever existed, literally standing on this floor, and it was pitch black dark, and I was like, don't you see it? Like, there's going to be a stage right here and a screen right here and all the seating. And they were like, okay, Jeff, but you're kind of scaring me. There's no lighting in here. Can we talk about this outside? Like, I think that's what you're saying. Like, even with nonprofits, like, you have to find a way to give vision, right? To sell it, to keep it going.
100%. Yeah, and I also think, like, proof of concept sometimes help people. You know, like if I did this with this, just imagine if you give me $1 million, what I could build
with this.
You know, and just like also understanding people's psychology. Like most people are unwilling to trust, you know, quickly or to have vision. You know what I'm saying? Like people want what works, you know, and so sometimes you got to play some of that game. You know what I'm saying? And help people see like, well, it works for this reason, you know, and like slowly lead them. If you need to convince somebody, I think that's one of the things that helps.
That's really good. The music industry is constantly changing. Like, and you've been how long have you been in the music industry?
I got signed in 2011, so 9 years.
9 years. Yeah. So you've seen so many ebbs and flows and different courses of it. I think right now, all the industries are changing rapidly because of what's happened this year, right?
Yeah.
But you guys have been doing it for a long time. If you were to give advice to somebody that is an industry that all of a sudden they feel like it just got flipped upside down, what advice would you give as you've been on this journey of change in your industry?
Yeah. So there's a fine line between like losing yourself in what's trendy, like, oh, this is what it is, like let's all go this direction. And if you believe that you're above trends, you're also in trouble. So you can't believe that like you're beyond the trend or that you need to just follow every trend. I think what you need to do is to be able to see both and figure out what your path forward is in the midst of all of it. So like I'm thinking now, okay, so TikTok is the thing right now, just like Vine was the thing, or you know, how selling CDs was a thing, and now it's all streaming. It's like, so we constantly have to be on the move and ready to adjust. How can I do that without losing the essence of who I am and my brand and my art and my thing? And then try to adapt. I think that's important, because the other thing we can do is get really critical or judgmental of like the newcomers, the new guys or the younger artists or whoever. And honestly, like you can be learning from them. You know, if you're willing to be humble. I remember one time I went up and I did an interview. I dropped an album called Neverland, and it was #1 on iTunes. And I did an interview at thisis50.com, which is 50 Cent's thing. And we were in New York, and 50 Cent comes out of the back room, and I was there doing the interview with this guy, Jack. And I see 50. I was like, yo, that's like a, you know, an idol of mine growing up as a kid. And I see him, he's like, yo, what's up, man, what's going on? And I was like, yo, and he didn't really like pay any mind to me. He was saying what up to everybody else. And then Jack was like, yo, this kid Andy got the #1 album on iTunes right now. And then he was like, now he paid attention to me. He's like, word, what's up, man, you'll come in my office. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go in 50 Cent's office right now, right? And I went in there, and and my manager at the time, he was sitting out there, and I was like, I'm going in. He's like, go, you know? I'll be out here as long as you need. And I sit down with 50 Cent for 2 hours, and he just starts asking me questions, picking my brain. He told me about Menage a Trois as well for some reason. I don't know why he was led there to talk about that. But, you know, we went from all over the place. We went to art, faith, religion, the changing of times, releasing of music, and he's just asking me a ton of questions. And I was like, you're a legend. Like, you're signed to Eminem. Like, you are one of the highest selling, like, hip-hop artists of all time. Why are you asking me something?
Interesting.
And it was because he was humble enough and business savvy enough to know, like, though I could soar above this kid, you know, or flex on him or make him think how great I am, like, I'm going to humble myself and learn from him. And I was like, man, so I started playing him music videos, and I'm like, I'm going this way. He's like, oh, I see what you're doing. You know, and I just thought that said a lot about his character and who he was. And I think I learned a lot from him is don't push away the new guys, the young guys, bring them in the fold and learn from them.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I watched you this summer. I didn't prepare you for this question, but I was just thinking about it. I watched you this summer in June, which was a very intense time with all kinds of race issues. I remember sitting and I was talking to you about some new music you were working on, and you were supposed to release some stuff, and you're like, I got together with the team. We just didn't think it was the right tone, the right time, all that kind of stuff. Can you unpack that for me? Not that moment, but like what you guys did as a team, understanding the story that was happening in the nation and what your responsibility was in the midst of all that.
Yeah. So you're referring to, I know, like George Floyd, the murder, and that
Yes.
like whole conversation had happened right a couple weeks before that, and we had music getting ready to come out,
Yeah.
and it was like, man, it's time to shift gears because, one, I don't want this to be insensitive. Like in the midst of the world burning, be like,
Yes.
everyone look at me. Well, I have music out, you know,
Yeah.
like give me your attention and time. I'm like, there's people are giving their time, attention, and effort and energy to something way more important than my rap song. So we need to bow out right now and just support what's happening. And so I just got with my team and I was like, let's shift this to a different time. And everyone was in agreement. And, you know, we got that stuff getting ready to come out now in like September. But I think it's just trying to be adaptable because, one, being an artist or selling a product, there is a level of self-centeredness that comes along with it, which is kind of one of the things that rubs me a little weird about the whole thing. But, you know, you have to essentially constantly be like, look at me, look at me, look at me. I want your attention. And I think you got to hold that a little more loosely when things like this happen. Two, as a white guy in hip-hop, I am, in a lot of ways, indebted to just like black culture and black art that I get to be a part of. And I think some of the reason why I'm so accepted in those spaces is because I've tried not to appropriate things, but appreciate things. As I participate in the culture, I'm able to like shout out my references and like give honor where honor's due and respect to the people who laid a foundation and allow me to do this. And, you know, actually care about the issues that surround that culture as well and participate in being a part of the answer and not the problem. Challenging the parts of my fan base that don't agree with those things, you know what I'm saying? And so I think if you contribute to the culture, not just take from it, I think there's an opportunity to live in harmony there, you know what I'm saying?
That's so good.
Yeah.
As an artist, I'm sure you got some haters out there. Every time you post something, they probably say,
None. I have zero.
yeah,
Everyone loves me.
right? To bring something out into this world, you have to also accept that not everyone's going to like it,
Yeah.
right? How do you deal with that?
Well, one thing I'm going to say, and this might just answer the whole question. I've never had anyone ever in life dislike my music and come up to me and say it to me in person. I think that kind of answers the whole
They
question.
say it all on social media, right?
It is never someone's to be like, hey, man, you suck. Your art is trash. I could rap way better than you. That's never happened, but it happens all the time with people behind a computer. So keep that perspective is one. And then two, you know, praise and affirmation is going to come when your stuff gets out there, but it also opens you up to vulnerability for, criticism. And so somebody tweeted this today, and I loved it, but it's like confidence is not like everyone's going to like me. It's even if they don't like me, I'll be all right. That's what a confidence is, because like you know what you have is dope, and you also know it's not for everybody. So there's been a lot of moments I've had to come to in my career where I'd have to accept that even groups of people that I really look up to, like, are just not going to like my music. They're not going to like my art. They're not going to like how I do it. Now, when your product is you, that's a difficult thing to detach your identity from.
Yes.
It's like, you don't like my Andy Mineo, the album, you know? Then it's like, you don't like me. But if I was selling cups and people are like, this cup is trash, I'd be like, I guess. You can use a different cup, you know? When it's you, your identity's attached more to it. So that takes a lot of work, you know, and surrounding yourself with people, you know, that love you for who you are, so you can have a moment to detach from the product and the person, or the persona and the person.
I mean, you're a critic, though, too, right?
I'm a critic of myself. Nobody hates me more than me.
Really? That just went deep. Wow.
Well, no, I don't think anyone's as critical of me as I am, for sure. So that's part of that is perfectionism that wants to come out. That's like, I'm going to make people like me by being as perfect as possible. And then the other part is that it pushes you to greatness. It pushes you to want to reach new heights within yourself, because you know you have potential and you want to reach it. So that is a fine line between like masochism and, you know, reaching for your potential.
That's interesting. Last question.
I know. We can talk about this all day.
I know. You you're fun. In the midst of all this, like, you enjoy life. Where does that come from? How do you stay? How do you just keep light in the midst of all of the tensions of the world and keep going to be able to have that persona?
You have to play, and like play frequently. For some reason, we believe that like we reach a particular age, and we like playing needs to stop. But I remember I was doing a tour in Europe, and I remember being over there, and like someone was telling me that it's really common for them in the middle of their workday to take an hour in the middle of the workday, and they're like, all right, let's go play mini golf, like, and putt-putt, and, you know, board games and stuff. Like, it's completely normal, or video games, whatever their thing is. And so they have a high value on playing because it like loosens you up. It gets you out of the grind and drive and all hustle, no play, you know, that whole thing that we kind of champion here in America. And two, it unlocks things. I was listening to this thing about runners when they're telling runners, hey, just run at 80% speed. And they end up running faster than when you tell them to run at 100% speed because there's a level of playfulness happening, and their functionality is actually higher. So I think for me, I need to find ways to continue to play. And when you do that, you access fun and that childlike spirit that should never go away if you let it run free. And that's created a lot of fun in my life and my art and my fashion. You know, you can get older, but you don't have to get old. And I think that's maintained by playfulness.
I love it. It's been so good this last year getting to know you as a friend. You don't get to say this like in everyday conversation, but you're a huge encouragement to me and my family, and you definitely match the play level of my son, which is really good. And I can't wait for people to hear your new music. It is going to lift all of their spirits. So thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, man. I'd give you a handshake if it wasn't Corona.
Oh,
Appreciate you, dog. You know, just air pound.